Hello, everyone. I'm John O'Loughlin. Welcome to McDuff Lives. And tonight it's open chat. I had to move this morning's just to take care of some personal things. And so here we are on a Friday night once again together. And I'm so glad to have you join me. Kathy Sue Zaganostra's here, being here, Kush and Corky, and everybody else that's here. I see we have 10 people here already, and I feel like just having a relaxing conversation with everyone tonight. Anybody have any topics we can delve into? I am certainly ready. There's Norman. Hey, Norman. Oh, man, I miss you, my friend. I wish we could get together and play some more tunes sometime. And if you're ever in the area, please let me know. Hello, Dial 221. And yeah, everybody, we're all friends here. Um, in This week here at McDuff Lives, we started off the week with a reading of "Who We Are" by Anton Chekin, and that reading was about the industrialization, specifically the railroads and the canals, and the beginning of the B&O Railroad, and introducing the idea of internal growth as part of a national mission, the idea that we have to keep on improving inside of the country and not be a colony, not be a provider of cheap labor and resources to wealthier countries such as, of course, Great Britain. MK Ultra Mind Control, selected mental states. Hello, Yule. Yeah, okay, we want to get to that. I want to get to that. Talked to Anton Chekin on Tuesday himself, and really emphasizes again the importance of innovation, the importance of engineering, the importance of having a culture in which that type of activity is praised and made easy, kind of the opposite of what we have now, where everything seems to be already patented, but somehow or another nobody gets to do anything new. And that's part of the problem that we have when we start looking at the economy as a whole, in that, the preservation of old wealth has become far more important than the creation of new wealth. And I think that it's the creation of new wealth that's necessary to the sustaining of the economy and sustaining of human culture, really. We can't live off of old wealth. We have to keep on being innovative and creative and building things. That's a strong opinion that I have now as a result of, the study that I've done, and that's what Tony Chaikin says as well. Nice note from him afterwards, after the show. And by the way, um, his show has now been made into a podcast by Drummer. So if you have a podcast service, you can easily find McDuff Lives with the exclamation point. By the way, I don't have an exclamation point on YouTube because they don't let you have it in the title, but that's the name of the book, is McDuff Lives with an exclamation point, and that's the name of the podcast. So Spotify or any of the normal podcast sources, you can find us, or just go to Buzzsprout, which is our host, and get directed there. But there's 5 podcasts up right now, and I do hope that you will check them out and let people know that we are now producing and publishing podcasts, courtesy of Drummer, who's doing all the editing and is doing a fantastic job with it. She's a highly experienced producer whose first career was in radio. So glad to have her having time now to participate. And anyway, I think she's doing a great job. Check it out. On Wednesday, we had the great Mark Kulak, and we had a fantastic discussion about atom bombs and whether they are really practical or is it all just a cover story for amassing the wealth represented by uranium and plutonium and highly processed metals like that that can be used to store and deliver energy a lot more a lot more efficiently than the technology of batteries that we have now. And Mark's been looking at it a long time. It's not just into the medical things. He's also been very helpful in uh, in our Gibson Island work, and well as by digging into that question of the real viability of these atomic weapons that are now once again being used as a sledgehammer over the world to say, if you don't make peace on my terms, everything's going to blow up. Well, all right. And then Thursday, um, let's see, what did we do Thursday? That was yesterday. Let's see, yesterday. Oh, yesterday morning we had Riley at 9 a.m., an unusual time for us just to accommodate him because he's traveling and he's in Eastern Europe, in Tbilisi, Georgia. Fascinated with that place. He says it's Western and safe, and he's comfortable there. Of course, he's there because his visa in Russia expired, and he had a little bit of a misunderstanding as to how to get it renewed. So he's still working on that, and we wish him well with that. He's a great writer, one of those people that just seems like to have a magical gift of finding exactly the right words and putting a kind of a twist of irony in it that is subtle, and I appreciate. Very good, excellent writer over at Substack, Riley Wagaman. So that was Thursday, and so here we are, and I appreciate everybody being with me. Now let's see what's on you guys' minds. The question of MK Ultra came up, and of course that's one of my podcasts. You know what? I'm going to go so far as to actually show you. Let's see. All right, here you go. Because I did a whole show on brain warfare, and that, of course, is a part of MK Ultra and MK Naomi. So, just since you asked, let me do a screen share, and I'll show you where the podcasts live. Okay, so here you go. Here's the one called Brain Warfare, and hey, just for the fun of it, let's play it. I'm John O'Loughlin. Welcome to McDuff Lives podcast. On this episode of McDuff Lives podcast titled Brain Warfare, I'll explore the history of the CIA's mind control experiments by reading selections from chapter 12 of the book, The Devil's Chessboard, Alan Dulles, the CIA, and the Rise of America's Secret Government by David Talbot. Along the way, I will comment about my suspicions that my father, whom we call McDuff, was subjected to such manipulation by the CIA due to his sensitive position at the Pentagon. And hello, everybody. I'm John O'Loughlin. Welcome to McDuff Lives. And, well, I suppose you're familiar with the book.
All right, I'm just fading that out so
Devil's
we can
Chessboard
transition back
by
into
David
real
Talbot.
time. But isn't that nice the
subtitle,
way
very important,
Marcia has put the
Alan Dulles,
audio together
the CIA,
with a music track?
and the Rise of America's Secret Government. One thing that you always need to
There you go.
consider.
So that's the podcast, and you can either go to Buzzsprout, where I just went to, or you can just Google it. I mean, it's easy to find. The Buzzsprout people do the publication for us on, I think, at least a dozen different podcasts. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that little snippet. And Norman, you love the music. Guess who composed it? Yours truly. Yes, I did. Okay, so that's enough on McDuff. Is to just, I mean, enough on my MK Ultra is to listen to that, and we'll talk more. It's a big part of my father's story, and a big part of what's happened to America. Tucker Carlson's torpedo of AOC. Well, I think we have to give credit to Diane Sayre, the LaRouche candidate for Senate running against Chuck Schumer, because it was a couple of her staffers that were involved in attacking AOC, claiming, interrupting her and shouting, "How can you be supporting the Nazis? How did you voted to send money to the Nazis?" And meaning referring, of course, to the Azovs and the Ukrainians. And that has gotten a lot of play, and it appears to be reaching into almost a stratospheric status. I see Jimmy Dore is going to attend the Schiller LaRouche event in New York this Saturday, October 15th, looking to be a very, very big deal. Defeat green fascism is the theme. And if you're not familiar with what green fascism means, well, this is the whole uh, green revolution, quote unquote, that's been, sponsored by the Rockefellers and the Carnegies and the Fords, behind the scenes, pretending to be environmentalists while in fact taking over the environment, monetizing it, destroying a great deal of nature in order to monopolize the food and water and clean air and you name it, anything good in nature, they want to monopolize it. And anyway, so this whole green revolution is really now turning into an avenue into fascism, an avenue into that totalitarian state that we all dread, the avenue of good intentions. Yes, let's save the environment. No, let's first of all, let's make sure that we individual humans have our God-given inalienable rights, and don't confiscate all the resources of this world, because that's what we need in order to be innovative, to be fully human. If you take everything away and turn us into serfs or slaves,
then well, you're nothing but an imperialist from the ancient past trying to relive a state of affairs that can't exist anymore. The world is just too big. People know too much. Despite their control over the mass media, enough information goes around that they cannot maintain this cloak of secrecy over themselves perpetually. So I think that things are shaking. Things are shaking up. Hello, Holly Engel, and oh yes, thank you, all of you for being part of McDuff Lives. USA needs a new purpose, like man needs a purpose. Yeah, I think we had a pretty good purpose. We just got diverted, by the old style oligarchs and banksters. Yeah, folks are makers and inventors. Less is misguided. An old friend of mine told me once that it doesn't. You do what you want to do, and as long as you do it consistently, you're going to keep getting better at it. And one day you're going to get so good at it that people are going to come to you and say, "Hey, I want some of that." And maybe you decided to be a painter, or maybe you decided to be a carpenter, or a sculptor, or uh, a, a songsmith, for that matter. But whatever it is, if you dedicate yourself to it, you will eventually get so good at it that other people will say, "Oh, I want some of that." You know, it's not just being, working in a factory that is going to make you happy. Although working in a factory is a lot better than, starving to death or living on a fixed income, which is, those are the people that are going to suffer with inflation. All the folks on Social Security and otherwise some retirement plan that might have looked good at the time, but it doesn't look so good with inflation. It's an awful, awful thing to face when you get older. I'm not speaking of anyone in particular, although I am going to be stepping into my 70s on Monday. Hello, Zaga Nostra. Pfizer's not testing. Yeah, that has been repeated a lot. That okay, Pfizer admits that they did not test the vaccine to see if it was uh, inhibits the spread from person to person of the unnameable disease. It's an interesting point to make, but I don't think it penetrates very far because the real reason to take the vaccine is not to prevent transmission to somebody else. It is to prevent yourself getting sick. And that's just the bottom line for why does anybody take a vaccine? I'm not taking a vaccine in order to protect you. I'm doing it to protect me. And I know there was a lot of propaganda to the other way to say, you have to take this vaccine in order to protect me. You have to get the shot in order to protect me. And I think that was horrible of the people to said that. And there should be legal liability on Pfizer's part for saying it too. It's one of a number of ways to attack
uh, what's gone on, and it has some traction. I'm not saying that, but it's not the thing that's going to nail it for most people, my opinion. Hello, Harry. Serco, a crown company, owns the patent office. They steal all the useful patents. Yeah, I think you're right about that. And one of the things that I always remember, crown is the same word as corona. Okay? Keep that in mind when you see the crown, right? And of course, all the European money system, things are measured in crowns. There's corona, krona, kroner. Um, and where is You know, where does the Lord of the Rings fit into this? Where does the round table, Cecil Rhodes's round table fit in with this? And I think it's very clear that Serco is right at the top of it. And yeah, I don't know whether they steal all the useful patents or not, but they certainly do have their hands in there and are actually operating, if I'm not mistaken, on a subcontract. The U.S. Patent Office. It's crazy. Yeah, the whole patent system is out of control. All of it, copyrights, trademarks, it's all just being used to preserve old wealth. It's not being used to create innovative ways to improve people's lives. It's just not. It's all being used to preserve old wealth. And that's a shame because that's not what the reasons for them were. Far from it. So me, yeah, I would definitely, I'd just totally rip up most of the patents and just say heck with it. You guys have made plenty of money off these patents. Now let everybody else have a chance. Generally. All right. Corky. Something seriously wrong with YouTube's sense of language. Odd, very odd. Drummer is on point with John. Very important. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Not quite sure what you mean there, Corky, but always glad to have you speak up. Maybe more will be revealed. Yeah, Russian correspondent. Well, you might be talking about Edward Slavsquad or Riley Wagaman, which is his real name. Edward Slavsquad is his nom de plume. It's a Russian inside joke. The idea of Slav squat. They split the atom and fractured atom. Yeah. Madness to expect sanity from the insane. Yeah. And and I had a kind of a wall today with trying to have a rational argument or discussion over who was behind the violence on January 6th, and with somebody who I just esteem a great deal, and just couldn't get past the it seemed like this person has just already closed their mind, that all this was caused by Trump and his fascists, and there's just no way to get into it. And I had to just step back and say, you can't argue with a closed mind. And it's sad, but that's what happens in this world right now. People are closing their mind to the other side or to anything different from the narrative that they believe in. And I'm not saying I'm not guilty of it. We all are finding ourselves having to concentrate more on what we consider reliable sources. And some people believe that CNN is a reliable source. I do not. So I don't watch it. So I don't understand what they're talking about sometimes when they get their ideas out of CNN. I don't know what it is. So, but no, we have to recognize that there are limits to what we can do, and try to just take what we can use and leave the best rest behind as respectfully as we can. Oh, thank you, Corky. Yeah, yeah. I've seen this Jackson Hinkle. He's got a great show. Young man, very photogenic, I think, and has a great voice. Uh, so yeah, uh, they were public. Somebody said that President Trump was going to come. I don't know if that's true or not, but because you know how they are, sometimes people will just put a rumor out there just because they know that it's people will know that it's false, so they just do it. But I don't know. That would be pretty cool if Trump showed up at a LaRouche sponsored event, would it not? It would be very cool. Yeah, LaRouche, New York, this Saturday, October 15th. Yeah. All right, Charles, you, Harry, and John Wilcox. Yeah, that's cool. Good for them. Yeah, I agree with you, Dal. That's this Ukrainian-Russian war is is horrible. But how can you really call it a war when the pipelines are still running? When Ukraine and Russia have a deal, that we're going to send the pipelines, the gas from Russia through Ukraine, and Ukraine makes money off of that, which they can use to buy weapons to kill Russian soldiers. So what kind of a war is that? I'm sorry. It's just like Charles Higgum's book, Trading with the Enemy, about World War II, where you can see that IT&T, Standard Oil, IG Farben, they're all in bed together. They're all doing business, business as usual. That's the theme. And business as usual, I'm sorry, is not the way to win a war. You know, that's the whole problem. You have your old soldiers like MacArthur, right? And my dad would say the same thing. You know, you want to win a war, first fight the war in such a way as to end it. Just make sure that your whole goal is to get it over with. You want the war to end, like yesterday, like ASAP, like stat, end this war. And you apply whatever pressure, whatever you can do to force the ending of the war on your terms. But that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing these long, dragged out conflicts that never end. Or if one of them fizzles out, they start another one. Yeah, you bet. That's my opinion.
On the other hand, the guys are getting killed. They're killing 1,000 guys a day over there. And these are young men that have families and should be doing other things with their lives. It's a horrible, horrible war. But it's not about, Ukraine versus Russia. This is about the powers behind the scenes. How much wonder does the earth produce in a year? Well, that's a good thing to speculate about. I'd have to wonder about that, Harry, but I like the question. How much wonder? Yeah, there was a child went forth every day, and the very first object that he saw, that object he became, and so went forth every day. A Child Went Forth by Walt Whitman, the original American poet, the poet that really changed poetry. Uh, a big departure from the English romanticists of Byron and Shelley and Keats. Somebody that didn't mind not rhyming, somebody that didn't mind not having perfect stanzas or rhythms, and but was able to compose in a way that I think everybody finds to be really quite satisfying to read or to speak out, and is really essentially American poetry. Uh, yeah, I love Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. Thank you for the happy birthday there being here. Yeah. Oh, I'm a little scared. I mean, but on the other hand, I'm glad that I'm getting out of 69 because, from my point of view, there's the Club 27, and a lot of people died at 27, and under really strange circumstances, and most of them musicians, but you understand what I'm saying. But another one is Club 69. There's a lot of people that just suddenly gone at 69. And I think of Alan Rickman as one of them. I thought he was a great actor, uh, and sorry that he's gone. But we're losing people, younger than they should, a lot right now. You guys don't need to be told that. Let's see. Oh, let's read this Churchill quote. Thank you, Doll. The person must be blind indeed who cannot see that here on earth a great project, a great plan is executed, may work on the realization of which we participate as faithful servants, says Churchill. Yeah, Churchill, um, was a racist. Churchill didn't mind genocide at all, and was basically working for the British oil company, the BP, and the man was not is not the kind of leader that we wish he was. I love his rhetoric. I love we will fight them on the beaches, but there's his public character. One thing, but he was ruthless and vicious and really one of those oligarchical family scions that has done an awful lot of horrible, horrible things. And he's saying there's this great work going on, right? Well, he sees himself as one of the prime architects of that great work
Of course, why can't everybody see how great I am? I'm running this British Empire thing, don't you see? And it's really good for everybody. Of course, unless you don't happen to be British, because it's only the British that will never be slaves. Information is the most valuable commodity, intellectual property. Okay, well, you're going to get me started on this. I don't believe so. I think that understanding that point of view is very helpful in understanding the masters of the universe today and what they're doing. I have a conversation, often with David Cranmer Underdown, who is my colleague and friend on Wednesday nights, and I always tell people be sure and follow him on Twitter because he's just dropping incredible stuff all the time. Fascinating to follow David, but we have that conversation of what happened to the traditional ways to value assets. You would be looking at a price earnings ratio, for instance. You'd be looking at the actual assets under the balance sheet. What do you have? Do you have factories? Do you have transportation? Do you have uh, a contracts? Do you have a market? What do you got under the hood? And based upon physical inventory, contracts coming in, your general reputation, and the size of your business, people could make a decision based upon what they see as a rational investment. And that's the way that people invested in the stock market and other places up until about 1971. 1971, the year that McDuff died, June 6th. Then George P. Shultz and President Nixon, 2 months later, destroy our economy by taking it off the gold standard, by refusing to allow the European banks to get the gold that we promised them when they took our notes. And we said, no, no, all we're going to be doing now is just giving you more notes. Boy, talk about gutting, your own economy. Because then how much is the paper worth? Well, it's never going to be worth what it was worth when it was tied to gold. Never. But that's what they did. They did it because they were desperate. They needed to have, more dollars to expand the money market to cover their debts. Vietnam War debts. To whom? To the military industrial complex and to the spooks. And who else? You have to pay off a lot of people to run a war. So anyway, that's what Schultz and Nixon did. They said, okay, well, we're just going to stab our population in the back by undercutting the value of the currency that they rely on. Yeah, thanks a lot. So that's what drives me to say, no, you're wrong. Information is not the most valuable commodity. It is the most valuable commodity in a totalitarian state.
It is the most valuable commodity if you are J. Edgar Hoover and know that the only way you can survive is to have a file on everybody, or the same thing from the CIA's point of view. You know, uh, in that case, information is a valuable commodity because you're dealing with a closed system in which power comes from who you know, what you know, and how vicious you are. Now, information technology has taken off since that moment, right? I mean, actually, my dad attended computer classes in the late 60s at the Pentagon. So they knew about computers and they knew the power that was coming. And so as these computers come along and then look what you get Bill Gates, for Christ's sake, to basically take up the market the way they got John D. Rockefeller to take over the oil market. But you have now the idea that by having the best supercomputers, to be able to calculate things that you could never have calculated before, that you're now going to be able to make these incredible uh, engineering feats of saving steps and doing things in a way that you couldn't have dreamed of without computers. And because of that, this new information is seen as an endless, just a fire hose of new information that's coming at us from computers, and the smart people that are able to develop new programs, and the efficiency of it, and the knowledge and the transparency, and all of this stuff is seen as an endless fountain of value that is loosely called information, and it is kept marketable by trade secrets, patents, actual secrets, national security, which is a big one. But what does information really add to the general welfare? Information is useful for enriching one person or one group, or else for blackmailing others. Information kept under a hat where nobody can see it but you. Well, that doesn't help anybody but you. Information should be free. People who think of a new way a new way to make to build a bridge or anything, we should praise these people. We should reward them, but we don't want to turn everybody uh, that has a good idea into a Bill Gates. Not that he had the idea, he didn't, but when all of the good ideas are just sucked into this already existing wealth structure with a corporate mentality of, you know, it's mine, you can't use it. No, I won't give you a free drink of water. What do you think I am? A charity? No, you can buy your water. Sell you a bottle of it. You know, that kind of corporate attitude is what we're facing. And that's what really drives me politically is, let's get back into a system of national sovereignty. I take care of my country, you take care of your country, rule of law, juries, as opposed to bureaucrats making judicial decisions. The idea of a republic, a res publica, a public thing. That means transparent. That means everybody participates in government. But we've got to start back in that direction, and that will set us free again. So yeah, that is a big issue, Doll, and thanks for raising it. I I think you're right that it is the most valuable commodity right now because that's the way our stupid system has been perverted. But information, I think of it as like a little piece of music, you know. When I play a fiddle tune, I'm playing this fiddle tune because I learned it from somebody else, and I didn't pay for it. I just was sat next to this person and I liked the tune and I kind of picked it up and started bowing it and started working out, the nooks and crannies of it. And, at some point I said, well, you know what? I'm going to play that tune. And I'm playing that tune, but I didn't pay anybody for it. Nobody's got a patent on it. And it's one of those tunes that just floats around in the music world. That's traditional fiddle music. And I don't think there's a price to be put on a, a nice tune, a nice melody that you might want to pick up from somebody else. But of course, the music business has turned into a business and everything is patented and copyrighted, and you got to get a lawyer if you want to do this or that. And it's wrong. I just don't think that you should be so tied down uh, with legal procedures in music or any type of intellectual property. Oh, that's just my opinion. Speaking of musicians, Timothy Judd is here, and so glad to have you, Timothy. I see your picture there with your violin, that beautiful instrument that you brought and shared some music with us at the McDuff Charrette, June 60, June 6th of 2021, here in Mystery Island, Maryland. And what a joy it was for me to get to play a tune or two with you. And sure do hope we can do that again sometime. Timothy Judd, a wonderful violinist, he honored us with playing a solo at my dad's memorial service on that day. He played the Navy hymn and beautiful rendition. So the narrative is collapsing. I hope so. You know, Babylon is falling. Babylon is falling, is falling, is falling. Babylon is falling to rise no more. Yeah, let it fall. Bring it down. Play the trumpets. Smith-Mundt Amendment. Yes. Well, we've talked about it over the years, but I haven't mentioned it in about a year or so. So it certainly is worth keeping that in mind. And we need to get back to the separation of investment banks from speculative investment banks. Let's see what else you guys want to talk about here. Always enjoy seeing what's on everybody's mind. Full spectrum dominance is required to shut down the global economy. 1971 global. Yeah, yeah, Club of Rome. That's the right stuff. That's Kissinger. And I'll also mention something about the, the Pope of the '60s of the Vietnam era. It was it was Pope Pius the Sixth and Pope Paul the Sixth. Sorry, Paul, not Pius. Succeeded after John the 23rd, who succeeded Pius the 12th. Pius the 12th, the wartime pope, who you know, lot of strong Catholics will fight you on this, but I think the evidence is clear that he was collaborating with with Mussolini and Hitler. Well, as the war was ending, and obviously the Nazis were going to lose, there was a rat line created to expedite these Nazis out of harm's way so they wouldn't get captured by the Soviets, which would have been awful, or the Americans or the Brits or anybody, because they had future plans. They wanted to preserve their Nazi brotherhood for the Fourth Reich or for the extended Third Reich that will rise out of the ashes like a phoenix. So they created this rat line, and who was running the rat line on the Vatican side? None other than Montini. That's right, Cardinal Giovanni Montini, who became Pope Paul the Sixth, and that is very relevant because you understand that when working on the rat lines, he's working with and for Reinhard Gehlen and Alan Dulles. So Dulles, he's got control because he's, the American army. The war is there. We're winning, and the power that Alan Dulles has as a result of that over anybody, especially the Italians. And so, what power did the popes have compared to an Alan Dulles? Very little. I mean, they don't have an army. Like Stalin said, how many divisions has the Pope? Zero. Only thing he has is the pulpit and, the millions and millions of Catholics who listen to what he and his subordinates have to say. And a bunch of money. But that's it. Well, they created the institute, the banking, the Vatican Bank during the war for the purpose of what? Money laundering, of course. So all this is going on. The money and the rat lines, uh, right under the Pope's nose. No, not the part of the turkey. No, the Pope's nose. The real Pope. With the real. I'm getting punchy. Sorry. So I'm saying that in 1967, 68, the Pope is Montini, the same guy that has an existing collaborative relationship with Alan Dulles and the CIA's, dark side. And Dulles, of course, is working for the Rockefellers and the CFR folks, Sullivan and Cromwell. So if they wanted to kick off a population reduction scheme, using people like the Knights of Malta and others that are clearly, within the Catholic realm, how are they going to get permission from the Pope to do it? Well, read Pope Paul VI encyclical called Humanae Vitae. And in the fine print there, you'll see that sterilization is forbidden unless it is an unintended side effect of treating disease. Think about what that means. If you're in they used to say eugenics, and that's what it is. If you're in favor of eugenics, as it looks like the Rockefellers and the Carnegies and all the study we've done on Cold Spring Harbor and the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute and all of this horrible stuff is leading toward population reduction by attacking sterility. What are the effects of these, what Mark calls treatments with regard to sterility? Is it a side effect that may be intended by some, but maybe the doctors that give the jabs don't really know that, or they're not really thinking that. They're just thinking we're going to inoculate this population to make sure we get rid of whatever disease. See, I think that's very important when we consider things like the Club of Rome and the progeny that comes out of that, and Pope Francis, and who does he really respond to? Uh, Look at Montini. Look at the relationship between him and Alan Dulles in the Rat Lines, and consider that language that I just quoted or paraphrased. I didn't quote it exactly, but if you're wondering what's going on in the world today, well, uh, the information more valuable than human beings, business as usual more important than war, than stopping war, I should say. It's a lot of sick, crazy thinking in this world, and it's on the part of those elites that already have all that money. They want to do whatever it takes to sustain their own elite status, and they don't really care about us. As a matter of fact, I think most of them probably would just as soon go along with Prince Philip and his ideas of every generation suffering some horrible sickness, illness, virus. You know what I mean. Well, we've passed the hour together. I'm sorry if I missed all of your comments. I think I got a good fair number of them in tonight, and thank you so much for being with me. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to be off for until next Thursday. Going visiting old friends down in North Carolina for a bit of a break to celebrate my 70th birthday. So I will survive out of my 69th year, and we'll keep going. When I get back, I'll be back on October 20th, and we'll have an evening show at 8 p.m. with David Cranmer Underdown. Once again, do me a favor. If you are at all interested in podcasts, sign up for our podcast that we have created over at Spotify or any of the other podcast services. It's a McDuff Lives podcast. Lives with the exclamation point. All right. Thanks, everybody.